We are live. Hello, hello, my beautiful people, and Happy New Year. It's 2025. Can you believe it? And first of 2025. And I am Adriana, your host, as you always know, your host of Welcome back to Perspective Podcast, where we explore stories, beautiful, amazing stories that shift people perspectives and also inspire you to your own transformations. And today I am so excited because I have a special guest today, and it's my honor and privilege to have him here. And starting in a full force of this year with all about speaking. And today I'm thrilled to welcome Mike McQuillan to our show today. And Mike is not just, I think, the most incredible speaker in the whole world, but also he is a creator of Fit Presenter, a public speaking resource designed for fitness professionals, but also he's impacting, I think, across all the industry, because who doesn't speak? We all about speaking and communication. He has a background in fitness trainer. He is Marine Corps, and also he's a certified world speaker coach. And Mike is bringing a lot of wealth of experience when he's helping professionals standing out from leaders, through leaders, and also to stand out through their own audience to make them and become into their ambassadors. So we'll dive deep into what it means to channel your ideas, to channel your own experience, so you can provide your own message. It can be promoting your business, you can promote a mission, bring a mission into this world, or just a message that you feel that needs to be brought into your life. So welcome, Mike. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being here at Perspective Podcast on the first day of 2025.
Well, thank you and salud. Great to be on this, and what a way to kick off the year. I just posted on LinkedIn that I'm going to do this. A big shift in my life came this past year, saying I'm going to start and end every day with positive affirmations. I've even got flashcards here. They're not all family friendly, but that's how I do it. I said today I start off the year with positive affirmations, and it all begins with Perspective Podcast. So thanks for that incredible introduction. It's now my life's mission to live up to that introduction.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely a pleasure. And we're going to start full force. And we're going to ask a question that I know as a coach and as a speaking coach, I'm sure many people asked you, and a lot of people come for your experience, that why people are so afraid of public speaking and speaking in general, speaking their truth, their voice.
The reason why people are afraid to speak are two reasons. Either they don't have confidence in their ability, or they don't have confidence in their messaging. If you don't have confidence in your ability, just practice. It's that simple. Join Toastmasters. I know you're a Toastmaster as well. Do a table topic in front of 6 people, because public speaking is scary until it isn't. You know, if we're going to do everything you do the first time is awkward. The first time you make a hamburger, you're probably going to screw it up. So giving a presentation, you're going to mess that up too. Darren LaCroix, world champion of public speaking in the year 2001, said Toastmasters is a great place to screw up. So get out there and just practice when the stakes are low, and your ability, you'll have more confidence in your ability. And the other reason why people are afraid to speak, they don't have confidence in their own messaging. And that's where the real coaching is. A lot of people don't have anything to say. That's why you're so nervous. If you said, welcome to the astrophysics podcast, and Mike is going to tell you all about the planets, I don't, because I wouldn't know what to say. I don't have confidence in my messaging on astrophysics. I don't think I even know what that is. But if you have confidence in what you're saying and what you believe in, then that takes care of the other side of it, and then you slay the dragon. Now, I will always say this, being nervous about speaking is the best thing about public speaking. Think about all the people you know who don't have any reason to be nervous about anything. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Do you think that not being nervous is actually a form of being nervous, but it's hidden by this excuse that I'm not nervous, I got it, I have all my things together?
Well, Adrian, I wouldn't know, because I never get nervous. I'm always on the ball. I will say this, and I'm glad you say that. An audience will forgive a nervous speaker. They won't forgive an arrogant speaker. So if you're there with a certain amount of jitters, use it. Don't say, guys, I'm so nervous. I didn't prepare any. Have you ever heard a speaker like that? I'm not a very good speaker. I didn't prepare any comments today. Well, no, they're not going to forgive that. But if you have a genuine connection with the audience, but you're just a little jittery because you hear your voice on the amplifier, like, whoa, that's understandable, but you just work your way through it. And I, as a speaking coach, have a couple of hacks to make that work to your advantage. People think, oh, well, I'm never nervous. If you have that thing, that arrogance, the audience will pick up on that. And that's a lot harder to get past than being a little anxious.
Yes, it's so true. I remember some of my beginnings as a speaker and speaking even in Toastmaster. I was speaking in front of people. People say to me, Adriana, but you don't have that problem. You seem like so confident. And what I want to dive deep with you today is to the confidence piece, because everybody thinks that we need confidence to be able to be a speaker or any kind of like communication, you know, like, oh, Adriana, if I had your confidence, then maybe I will be able to speak, or maybe I will be able to, you know, make my message across the world, or even if in your family and so on. What I have realized, and I would like you to dive deep into from my own experience, professional and personal, is that I think confidence is misunderstood. I think that confidence is something that comes as you do it, as a result of your action, not actually have confidence and then you do the speaking. What do you think about that?
Very well said. You must have practiced. Yeah, you definitely, confidence comes from practice and building up ability. It's more important to believe in your message than it is to have confidence in your ability. That's the most important thing. Now, if you ask people, what's your favorite speech ever given, they'll probably take a politician or some historical figure, or God forbid, some kind of a TED talk. I have my favorite speeches, and they're not on anybody's top list because they're very personal for me. But if you're looking for an incredible speaker that has zero notoriety and you feel like clearing out the tear ducts, the best speeches ever given, you know where they are? In a courtroom, watch a victim impact statement. All right, these are not professional speakers. These are not people who are coached. These are people who have something to say, and their life and well-being depends on how well that message is received. You see somebody who's been through something horrible, and now they're finally face to face with the person who did this. Okay, we don't need to get into details on the types of crimes that are committed, but when you see that, nothing you can do on a red dot and 3 letters behind you that say TED can ever match up to that, because it's real, it's organic, and it's not coached, but it's a message that has to be carried forward. That, you'll never get famous doing that. You might go viral, but it's not about anything other than you have something to say, and it's now or never. That's where the best speeches are. And you don't see, oh, I'm too nervous, I'm not going to confront my sister's killer or something. No, nobody's going to say that. You will do it.
Yeah. What they say, it's you have to feel a person that speaks, you feel it. You not just hear it, but you feel it as well. I think it's when you move on. That was something I have learned from one of my speaking coaches. He said, when you move people from where they are to any other place, you move them inside, you already cross your message reached to them. But when you don't move them and you just impress them, then there's something that you still need to work on. And I believe that audience, it doesn't matter who is that audience, because that audience can be not just as a public speaker, but also can be, I think, in your personal life, your partner, your children, your team. That's why it's so important. I always hone this, and that's why I love to start this podcast and this year with you, because you have something that so many people need, which is the ability to communicate, to come across your message to those that maybe don't speak your language. How do you do that in a personal level, in a professional level? How we learn how to do that, to actually bring our message and be heard the way we intentioned, not the way they will hear it with their own perspective, with their own story.
Well, unfortunately, you have no say-so on what that audience really hears. And I tell a lot of people, because a lot of people talk about their legacy. I always tell people your legacy is none of your business. Because even if your message comes across clearly, they'll remember details about something. I also want to say to the audience, you know, Adriana and I got off to a really intense start. You don't have to change the world with everything you say. It doesn't have to be intense or earth-shattering. It's just the nature of our conversation. And we were in a group just the other day, and it was incredible. And the stories that we just met, and these stories that were coming forward, like, wow, this is really something. Because, you know, I start off, I have a morning podcast that I listen to as a morning show, and it's just very light, and it's a men's thing, and we get together and talk about just the most superficial stuff, but it just makes you feel good, you know. And we got on this, it was like really intense. People have been through some horrible things and incredible radical changes in their life. And a lot of the people who come up to your podcast, a lot of people have gone through some radical changes. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be. I learned this in journalism school. Anybody can write about a train wreck. It doesn't just, as you're listening to this, as you're watching this, realize it doesn't have to be something so profound as long as it has meaning to it. That's the first thing. What was the other thing you asked? I'm sorry, I was just going.
Yeah, it's how you come across how you create that message in a way that it's speaking their language, because we all know that sometimes you say something and the other person interpret a different way, and then you're like,
Yeah.
but I actually said this, or my intention was this, but it came out differently. And I feel like even if we speak the same language physically, you know, theoretically we speak English or whatever language you speak, but sometimes I feel like we speak such a different language. No?
Well, people get that. That is true. And it is important. A couple of things. Number one, the most important word in the English language is you. Not some of you, a few of you, how many of you. It's always you. You're sitting by yourself right now. I'm sitting by myself right now. If you're watching this now, it'd be nice if you're having a prestigious podcast watch party, but you're probably alone watching this. You say, how many of you? I'm like, who else is here? So make sure, I want to feel like you're talking directly to me. I go back, I saw Rolling Stones in concert about 10 years ago now. They came here to Peru where I live. And I felt like Mick Jagger put on a concert just for me. And there were 40,000 people there to keep me company. And that's how you want each person, that audience, to feel. Then your message will mean a whole lot more. The other thing is there's got to be some kind of action involved. It's easy to give a motivational speech saying, you can do it, don't give up, go for it, come on. We've heard The Little Engine That Could. We've heard David and Goliath. And it's great to retell these stories in different contexts. Don't stop telling those stories, but it's not enough. There's got to be a call to action, something they can do, either while you're speaking or an actual thing they can do. This way, it's not, do I remember the message, but am I doing the thing? I do want to say that no matter what, if you tell them something and they misinterpret it, as long as they misinterpret it as something positive, then you did something right. Let's just say I was walking down the street. I was on my way to the bus stop, and I walked past this cafe, and the coffee smelled really good. But then I got on the bus and I went to work because I was determined to do something incredible that day. Somebody's going to listen to that and say, I'm going to open up a coffee shop. That wasn't the message that you wanted to convey, but they were listening. It triggered their imagination. You get credit. If you trigger their imagination, they go on a tangent in their own mind and they come up with some great idea because you were so sincere. Go for it. Do it. Take credit for it. You did it.
Yeah, it's definitely powerful. It's powerful to even, I think, the idea for me when I got into and I was called to see that I have a gift and I need skills to enhance this gift of speaking and speaking messages and stories out there from my own perspective, my own stories, but also from others to sharing. I realized that this comes with a bit of heaviness, because as a speaker, you feel like people are watching you, and then that means you have to be credible. You have to own your story, own what you're saying, and also have some facts and not just your perspective of it. And it's very hard sometimes because, like I said, and I choose the name of the podcast, perspective. I feel like everything is a perspective. Depends how you look at it. Even myself, the way I saw life, the way I saw communication, the way I saw certain things in my life, really shifted many times in different perspective I had along my own journey. So I feel like perspective is so important to understand that you can change your perspective, the way you see public speaking, the way you see the importance of communication, the way you see everything. What's something, let's say, the hardest or the toughest lesson that you have learned throughout your careers, throughout your journey, that brought you to change your perspective about the importance of communication with yourself and others?
That's a great question. I told you, give me some hard question. That's a good one. And I would have to say, now, the more your perspective changes, the more you realize a certain ethos that'll never change. Now, the one I've reinvented myself. Listen, you moved from Romania to Canada and you've got family, so you know what it's like to reinvent yourself. And I moved from the United States to South America now, so I get it. But it's more than that. When you reinvent yourself, you look at what's constant in your life. And for me, the two things that have been constant are speaking or teaching or presenting and the fitness world. That's why I created a Fit Presenter. But the biggest difference for me in what speaking is all about, I joined Toastmasters when I was 24. And back then, the whole world ran on my opinions. So if I came out in my club, you know how it is, trying to get somebody to who's going to speak next week. Somebody said, I'll do it. And like, Mike, you're incredible. You're going to speak again. So nobody called me out on the fact that I was a know-it-all post-adolescent. Let me tell you what's stupid about this. I mean, geez, what are people thinking? So all I did was unload my opinions. It made my fellow club members laugh. It filled out the sketch, filled out the agenda. I did back then it was called the CTM, Competent Toastmaster, 10 speeches. I did it in 18 meetings. It's like, wow, Mike, you're 10 speeches and 18 meetings. It was, wow, you're incredible, Mike. So nobody called me out on the fact that all I'm doing is just spewing out my opinion on this or that. And once I ran out of opinions, I ran out of material. I had nothing else to talk about. And I think I spoke more in my first year in Toastmasters than I did in the following 10. I gave more speeches because I had no material. So I had to learn storytelling and I had to learn audience focus, that you can be the main character of your story, but the audience needs to be the main character of the speech. You're not here to listen to me. I'm here to communicate with you. I'm here to fill something, here to make you valuable. You are every bit as a part of creating this presentation as I am. And that was the big shift for me. And that's why it all comes back to the word you. And as English is a foreign language teacher, I keep my flashcards here. So in case we get cut off, you got to still be doing this.
I love that. I love that. And it's so true. You learn so much more from your mistakes and from things that you repeat many, many times. And then at one point you're like, wait a minute, actually that wasn't a good thing. But also, I think that's what you learn the most, when you're able to hone yourself and the mistakes, which I call them learning opportunities. Those are the most beautiful things that stick with you for a long time.
A little too long sometimes, but yes.
Yes.
I will say this, and especially we're talking Toastmasters, we have competition seasons coming up. The one thing I'll say is nobody remembers a bad speech unless it's really bad. But if you just give a speech that you're not happy with, nobody will remember it. You'll remember it forever, but the audience won't.
Yes, definitely. I remember my first couple of speeches. First of all, I don't even remember what I talked about, but I remember how embarrassed and like hard I was on myself. I remember those moments. But what we might have people come in and say, yeah, that's great, Adriana and Mike, you guys are amazing, but I don't do public speaking. I don't need public speaking. But I will contradict that, and I would like to hear your opinion. We all public speaking every single day. We all speak. We all have this box here that we we use this voice and not just the physicality of like speaking, but also our body language is another form of communications, because we know that communication is non-verbal, what, 70-80% or even more, and then the rest is a verbal. Why you think it's so important to actually educate ourselves when it comes to communication, when it comes to learning the proper way to speak in front of a team, to do a presentation at work, to speak with your partner, so it helps to enhance and grow your relationship, to know how to speak in front of your children because they follow. All these things are so important, the communication. And I would like you to speak into the importance of communication from a point of view in a personal level and then also in a professional level. Why it's so important to actually focus more on this and less on the other skills.
I'm going to do that backwards, and I will say every job that I've had or every profession I've worked in, my reputation has grown by speaking. It might be 1 minute, it might be just multiple opportunities. Even as a teacher, you'd be surprised at how teachers don't like to do any public speaking. That their classroom is their safe space, that they can do it in the classroom, they can deliver a lesson because they're the authority. But when they're seeking other people's approval, or everything switches. This goes back to when I joined Toastmasters, I was doing manual labor. I was installing office furniture. In fact, I was installing furniture in the same building where our Toastmasters club met. I used to haul furniture into the building through the loading dock, haul the cardboard out, go home, take a shower, change, come back to the same building. And then the security would escort me to the conference room where now I'm Mr. President, where a few hours ago, yo, McQuillan, where's that? So it's no matter what. And we had a company softball team, and our team was terrible. And the company was cool about it, though. They gave us they paid for our team to be part of the local rec league. And then at the end of the season, they paid for us to have a little party. And since we were so bad, we all decided to roast each other. And I had the chance to get up, and everyone's like, yeah, you suck. It's your fault we lost. So, oh, wow, you're awesome. I actually got to give a real speech, and I got the person they chose for me to roast was also the operations manager at the office. And he was a really good batter and a terrible fielder. And it was, that little thing. It's been 24 years since then. Now there's the year 2025. It's been 24 years. It's still it's a great memory. This goes across the board in the fitness world, and that's why I created Fit Presenter. It raised I can tell stories all day about what a great speaker I am, but that's the whole contrary to everything we're trying to do here. I will say every place I've worked, or at least not every single job, but every field I've worked in, I've raised my reputation by speaking. The reason is, and we haven't talked about this, I don't want to eat up the whole conversation talking about slides and PowerPoint, but the world is run by technology now. And the people who create the technology have the biggest platform to say, this is what you should be doing. And there are people who believe that it's more professional to turn your back on your audience and look at your slides and read them to you as if you're illiterate. And somehow people equate being formal with being professional. And people believe there's dignity in having no personality. That's why people say, oh, I already know how to speak. I've seen it all the time. Listen, and in the speaking world, I've learned that I am the second greatest speaker in the whole world. And everybody else is tied for first. You know how many people I meet who say, I'm a speaker. Really? Because I'm falling asleep already. I went to an event one time, somebody was hosting this thing, and he had a lot of people there. The most interesting thing he said in the whole presentation was, I hired a speaking coach. After that, he shared his screen, didn't even have the decency to give us death by PowerPoint. He gave us death by Microsoft Word, and he read his document to us. So in this world of speaking, you've got people say, I'm too nervous, I can't, oh, I don't know. Then you got other people say, I already do that. I don't need to be taught how to speak, I already know it. And that's unfortunately that's who rules. You see it all the time. If you're beginning your presentation with, I'm going to share my screen now, you just lost your audience.
There you go. That's a great tip for all the people that are in the corporate world. You better take notes. For sure, it is. One time I did a presentation and someone told me, said, you rather just why you didn't just send me an email? I'd rather just read it on my own than you know. And I was like, but then that's how you learn. That's how you
well,
learn.
but you know, that's funny because some people say, oh, we didn't need that. But your higher ups are probably saying it has to be a PowerPoint, it has to be this font, it has to be this color. We want you to give a crappy presentation. Now, part of my mission as a speaking coach is to shatter this fake hierarchy that says the corporate world is where the most professional, refined speakers are. They are not. In fact, the corporate world, I just said, puts a premium on being a bad speaker, because either the people you're speaking to are your seniors and they want you to be terrible so you don't upstage them, or the people you're talking to are your subordinates and they can't tell you what a bad speaker you are. So I am here to shatter that myth. And I've got a blog post, I'm going to do some plugging later, post on my blog about what it means to be an executive speaker and an executive speaking coach. And it's not very flattering.
That's good. I love this. I love truth bombs, and I love to hear to shatter a bunch of different people's perspective. And again, what we say here is our perspective. You can take it or leave it. It's up to free will to do it. But when you have an open mind and an open heart to even question what we have, what we say, and be like, I mean, let me experience on myself. Let me check if that's the truth or I want to adopt or not. That's a beautiful way of have an open mind towards learning something new and acknowledge that is something, like you said, I'm the second greatest speaker of the world. Everybody
else is tied for first.
That was beautiful. I'm gonna steal that from you. I'm gonna use it. That was beautiful.
Okay, we'll be tied for second, you and me.
Yeah, we'll be tied for second. You and me, and the rest on the first. Awesome. Let's talk about the fit. You are the creator of Fit Presenter.
Yes.
What got you to create that, or what is the why behind that? Because I see the passion, I hear a little bit about it. I'd like to dive a little bit deeper in that. And why is needed in the world, especially in today's day.
Okay, we'll talk about why it was important for me, and we'll talk about why it's important for the industry. There's two different stories. Number one, you're in Edmonton, I believe?
Yes.
Okay, well, I used to live in Anchorage, Alaska. That was my fantasy land. I served in the Marines. They put me in the California desert. It was hot, it was ugly, it was boring. I wanted to go someplace cold, beautiful, and exciting. I settled on Alaska. That's where I joined Toastmasters. I was making pretty good money doing retail, selling exercise equipment. That's how I got my start actually, I started by delivering and installing exercise equipment. Then I moved up to retail sales, got certified as a trainer. Then I went back to school and I blew through all the money I made when I was working retail. And now it's now or never. I've got to make some money or else this Alaskan fantasy is over. I got to move in with my parents at age 27. So I went out to a small town in remote Western Alaska called Bethel. Now here's my tip for everybody here. If you have no interest in public speaking, I want to give you a tip that you can remember. If you ever go to Alaska, don't go to Bethel. But there's really not much to it, but it is a hub for about 60 different native villages in the area. So you have a lot of people, a lot of state workers out there with good jobs who make good money. So I was out there looking for some day labor, and a friend of mine suggested, why don't we rent out the lodge and we'll do a workshop, we'll do a seminar on fitness, diabetes prevention. There's a lot of issues here. And I said, people won't pay to hear me just talk about fitness. And she said, oh, yes, they will. Wheels started turning. We can do this. Not only can I was already the president of my Toastmasters Club. So certified personal trainer. I trained clients. I had done the thing. I had the knowledge. I had the ability to speak. Now this can make me the money that I need to give me that little boost so I can stay in Alaska and really make something out of this. You want to hear about the seminar we did? There was no seminar. I chickened out. because I knew how to give a 5 to 7 minute rant about my opinions about cigarettes and why we should lace them with TNT so they explode. And no, okay, I could tell you about all the things that piss me off, but I didn't know how to give a seminar, a workshop, something structured that had real value to it. I ended up going back to Anchorage empty-handed, and I had no choice. I had to pack up the car. It was a long, lonely drive back to New York. Okay, and a beautiful drive, but that was a defeat. This lifelong fantasy just faded into short memory because I didn't have that ability to do that presentation. Now I'm in Peru when I can do this anywhere I want. Now we have sandy foothills instead of beautiful snow-capped mountains, but I still have that. I'll never have to worry. Even to this day, when I see on the Travel Channel or something about Alaska, I'm like, oh, I used to live there. It's still painful. But now I've created the single greatest resource for public speaking in the fitness industry, so that you work with me. I know I can give a presentation. Last time I spoke at a virtual fitness expo, I had 4 separate modules that I submitted. They took 2 of them. I've given 5 different modules at this virtual expo, 45 minutes, 40 minutes each, give or take, and I can do a whole lot more because of what I've learned in all this coaching that I've done, getting certified as a coach, putting this together, the modules, the training, teaching, all of it to create Fit Presenter. Now, the options of working with me, we can work together to create your presentation. I also have a standalone course, so you don't have to make a major investment to get started. Now, that was my story. I never am going to find myself stranded in the tundra saying, what am I going to do with my life? When I could have given a presentation, I could have done a seminar and done it.
Yeah.
As for the industry itself, you know, the speaking world has plenty of arrogance to it. Well, let me tell you what a great speaker I am. I've seen people get on stage and just talk about what great speakers they are. I gave a great speech last week in Paris, and it was incredible. What do you think? The fitness industry has some of those same tendencies? I was working at a training studio, and a local meetup group came in and said, we want to do a Biggest Loser challenge. 12 weeks, we're going to meet up. We're going to weigh in every week. We're going to do activities together, hiking and aerobics classes, go shopping, go grocery shopping together. Would you like to host it at your facility? We said, yeah, of course. So we set up the challenge. And we shut down the gym, no appointments, because it's all personal training. No appointments, we're just going to do this. Set up the furniture. First came in the challenge coordinator. Hey, great to see you again. Then came the contestants, the people in the group. And then came in the trainer. They hired an outside personal trainer to come in and run this challenge in our gym. We were just a couple of patsies to set up the furniture. I looked over at the owner manager. I said, that how it is? We're just a couple of models. I said, she's going to get it. I don't want to say exactly what I said, but she's going to get it. But once she started speaking, I said, we have nothing to worry about. She came out and she had her index card like this and said, hi, my name is, we won't use her real name, Esmeralda. I'm Esmeralda, and I am the trainer. And then she did that thing, you know, like she put one foot in front of the other like that, you know, that pose that says, I'm not very happy to be here. Then what do you think she said? I'm very happy to be here. And then she handed out her flyer. Contact information, long list of credentials, certifications, and a picture of herself wearing a bikini. Did I mention this was a weight loss challenge? Our heaviest contestant weighed in at over 300 pounds. And she was in her mid-20s. So do you think she's been struggling with this her whole life? And she's looking at this flyer thinking, where's the other half? Tell you where the other half is. Enter the Fit Presenter. So I stepped in. I know people remember most what they hear last. So I said, oh, listen, before you get going, I just want to say welcome to One-to-One and congratulations on taking this step. Me personally, I've never seen the show Biggest Loser, but here at One-to-One Fitness, we see that show every day. And I told him a quick little story. You know, I have a client who comes in and, you know, she always says something very special to me after she leaves her session. She looks at me and she says, I hate you. I hate you. Until one day she was walking out of the gym and she said, do you want to see these pictures of me? I said, okay. And they're pictures of her. She's not skydiving. She's not horseback riding. She's just sitting there. I said, oh, they're very nice. It's you, all right. And she said, this is the first time I ever let anybody take a picture of me in over 5 years. After 6 months of training and 51 pounds lost, she met her goal of going to a family wedding wearing a dress instead of a pantsuit. That last session when she walked out before the wedding, she walked out saying, I did it. I really did it. And I still hate you.
Of course, just a little bit.
Yeah. Don't you think that story right there, 5 minutes, we saw everybody in that group signed up for training with us. And that other trainer, we never saw her again. Now, to her credit, she's done very well for herself as a vegan chef. I'm not going to give her a plug here, but she's done very well for herself. But what she didn't understand that day is nobody cares about you and your credentials. What matters is what you can do for your audience. And with that, and you know, if you think I'm picking on female trainers, no, men are no better. They will start off a presentation with a PowerPoint with their bodybuilding pic with a Speedo, and men are much worse. This just happened to be a woman who came into our gym to do this. I said, somebody needs to do something about this. Enter the fit presenter.
That's what it is. It's the power of story, because we are humans since the caves. We know that we connected with each other through stories, and it's ingrained in who we are as humans. To the connection, I think, is the most important thing, and communication is one of the biggest steps, or the way we use to the tools. Let's say the tool that we use the most is through communication, to verbal communication and non-verbal communication, is to connect with each other, because it's a human need to connect, to feel connected with other people. And one question I've been coming to my mind every single time when I'm looking to write a speech or make a presentation or workshop is this question: what is in for me? Not me, but I'm putting myself in the shoes of the audience. What is in for them to come here, to spend the time, to take the time from their families to come and listen to me or to participate to whatever I do? And I think that's changed my perspective of understanding why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm taking the time to create these things, because it's not about me, it's about you. It's the person that listens, about your audience. And when it comes to you, the audience, the people that listen, as we coming close to a wrap up, I would like to, what would be, say, some practical tools or habits, something that helped you in your own journey as a professional speaker, in your fitness, in your own personal life or professional life, that you can share with someone that maybe is on the beginning of saying, like, look, I start understanding the importance of communication and enhance my skills, my ability to speak, to write, to present my message, whatever that is in professional or personal level. What would be the practices or habits, something that people can take with them and start using at home?
Well, the most obvious thing is to hire a speaking coach. I mean, come on now. Waiting for that one. Okay. It starts off with, get yourself a story file. Your stories are your inventory. Like if you run a restaurant, your plates, your cups, your silverware, your wherever you store in the walk-in fridge. Okay, the stories are your inventory, and just write them out. And in those, what you need to write out is start with just a skeleton story of who, what, when, where, to get those details down. And so start by listing the details of the story. And then in every story that you're telling, you need 3 levels of conflict. I'm going to make this 3-dimensional. I'll grab my boat here. Okay. Now, I live in Peru. So you know the movie Titanic. I've never seen it, but I heard the ending is not very pleasant. But here's Here's 𝐤𝐸𝐿𝐼𝐻 here, and the raft. This is, instead of Jack and Rose, we have Joaquin and Rosita, and they are floating across Lake Titicaca. And what do? They hit an iceberg. Now there are no icebergs in Lake Titicaca. Just play along. So that's the initial conflict. Okay, then you need the second conflict, the elevated conflict, when the Titanic begins to sink. And then we have the third level. That's not the third level, but it's conflict. More conflict, your conflict. The initial conflict is, oops, we hit an iceberg. The elevated conflict is when the Titanic begins to sink, and that's when we have urgency. It doesn't have to be life or death, but there has to be a story where we need to resolve this. Say, Adriana, you better resolve this conflict. You're not leaving the stage until we resolve this conflict.
Mm.
And then finally is the internal conflict, the love story between Jack and Rose. For 85 years, we cared more about the ship than the people on it until that movie came out. All we knew was John Jacob Astor or something. I don't know. I don't know who these people are, right? But once we heard the love story, suddenly we cared about the people on the ship. Suddenly we're sending missions down to bring these people up, thinking maybe they're, for whatever reason. It's that human connection. So it's conflict, more conflict, your conflict. And you can find it in any story. I talk to people all the time, and I hear this every time I work with somebody, or even just a conversation like this. They say, well, this is probably not relevant, but let me tell you a story. And it's the perfect story. Or this probably doesn't matter. You probably don't want to hear this, but this is not really a big deal. But once you hear that story belongs in your presentation. As long as you have that formula. Can we say it one more time? Conflict, more conflict, your conflict.
I love that. I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes as well too. And for those that might need to want to rewind this last couple of a minute or two and rewind it and listen it again and take notes. There you go. And they all say it. And it comes back to you, to inner conflict, to look at yourself, to that was something that helped me tremendously in all my journey, is to look into the mirror, literally, figuratively, and literally look into the mirror and stop blaming others and stop looking at others and understand why I'm doing the things I'm doing, why I'm saying the way I'm saying these things, why I'm reacting. And when you have that self-reflection and those story, and with the story of the ship and the caring about the people on the ship and not just the ship, is coming back to look at yourself and take fully responsibility for the things you know, for the things you don't know, for what you can learn and what you can release. And that's a beautiful way to slowly end this beautiful conversation we had today. And as I always do on my on the podcast, I ask 3 fire questions to all my audience.
Do it up. Great. Yes. I don't know the questions. I've been watching this podcast. I haven't watched any of them to the end because we are short notice. I want to go, okay, so I don't know these questions.
Good. So the first question is, what is one thing that you do every day that brings you joy?
I have a morning action plan that I do. I'm going to plug 𝐂𝐨𝐬. She's been pestering me about testimonials. I send her the testimonial, post it here. I'm going to do it here on this podcast. So don't tell me I didn't plug you. I've got a 5-step morning action plan. It begins with gratitude and a statement of gratitude. It's a little bit cliche now. You should be grateful. But I just what to be grateful about. I've got on my board here. I'll even show you here. It says, grateful for my sense of gratitude, because that's my gratitude hack. If I have nothing else to talk about, I have nothing else to be grateful. I'm grateful for the fact that I have a sense of gratitude. So that's number 1. Then I'll brush my teeth, as I already done. It's part of the action plan. Drink water and always have a glass that looks pretty cool. So I've got this one, but I'm going to get myself something nicer. So you really savor it. Then I go outside, and I'm going to tell you something. Here in Peru, beautiful country, but the shoes are all too narrow. But I got really wide feet. I go outside with these sandals on. I go walk through the grass, and I not only just enjoy the sensation of the grass under my feet, but also let the electromagnetic frequencies, because I spend too much time on the laptop, let that all purge. And then I begin with some journaling. Sometimes just a few sentences, sometimes I go to work. But that's the 5-step morning action plan. I got holiday to thank for that. And now you know I gave you a testimonial. Enjoy it. Question number 2.
Question number 2. If you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would that be and why?
Well, I'd say my 4 grandparents, but they wouldn't want to have dinner with each other, so I don't think that would work. You know, I would say there's a couple of figures in history. Now, one of my favorite philosophers is Diogenes, the original cynic, but apparently his table manners weren't very good, so I don't know if I want to actually have dinner with him. I would love, this is a strange one now, I would love to have dinner with Benedict Arnold. I don't know if you know who Benedict Arnold is. He was a ferocious American general during the Revolutionary War, and then he turned sides to the British. And he was going to sell West Point out. He's one of the most controversial figures in American history. And he's never really got a chance to tell his side of the story. So I got my start in journalism. So there's an interview that nobody ever got. He's an American hero, but he's known as a traitor more than anything else. And there's somebody I'd love to hear his side of the story.
Wow, that's interesting. That definitely is something different. I love that. I'm gonna look up to it. And the last question, number 3, what is your wish for humanity?
My wish for humanity. Well, let me preface that by saying there's way too much talk about changing the world. I want to change the world. Well, if you change it, first off, somebody's going to change it back. If you change it, it's going to last very long. Eventually, you're going to. And what makes you think that your change for the world will be better with no backlash or any consequences? So my wish for humanity is to put away the self-importance. We live in a time now where individualism is king. And that has its perks, especially when you're a speaking coach. You're teaching people to stand up and be an individual, you know. So my wish for humanity is pretty bad for business. But I would say to put an end to the self-importance, and it's for your own good as well as just the wish for humanity.
I love that. That's a different perspective. That's a definitely different perspective to think of and look at, because everybody's about changing the world.
Everybody wants world peace. Come on now.
Yes, but you cannot. You take me to a different subject. We can talk another hour about that. Peace. I'm here. It's war to have peace. If it's no war, it's no peace. So.
Of course. But I'm saying, yeah, that's why it's been done before. So I want to, you know. But to achieve that, a lot of self-importance is what's created all these things. Yes. I want to change the world. I want to be a thought leader. I want to be special. And as I always say, your legacy is none of your business. Somebody is going to watch this podcast, and the most valuable lesson they're going to pull away is the fact that there are no icebergs in Lake Titicaca. And everything else, yeah, speaking or something, fitness, right? Somebody else is going to find out who's that vegan chef. I want to see if she's around. People are going to pick what they want to pick. They're going to hear what they want to hear. So just put your best out to the universe, and the people who need to feel and take your message in will get it, and do away with the self-importance.
There you go. And that's a beautiful way to end this absolutely beautiful conversation, meaningful conversation we had today. And I hope those that are listening or watching this live or replay, or please, would love to hear your takeaways. What was your perspective you took from this conversation? And also, what you're going to do about it? What you're going to do with it? It's been absolutely my pleasure and honor to have you here, Mike, and start and kick off this 2025 in a great way, talking about communication, the importance of communication, changing our perspective when we talk about public speaking, and stop being so terrified of public speaking, because it's not the monster with many heads that's going to eat us. Myself and Mike, we can tell you, we survived the monster. We're still here to speak about it, so we're not gonna die. It's just gonna grow you a little, stretch you a little bit. And it's true. I will say it until the day I took my last breath. Communication, it's one of the most important things. We can constantly learn about it, sizzle it, make it better, because it's something that brings us together, but also it's something that can pull us apart. And that's why we start this year with such an incredible conversation that most definitely there's a lot of nuggets there to take away. The way I took a couple of notes. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. We say thank you. Thank you so much, Mike, for your time, for your wisdom, for experience, for the beautiful stories, and with a lot of humor in between them. I love that. Thank you so much. And also, thank you to everyone. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for being at the Perspective Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, and please subscribe and share this with your friends and those that you might need to know, they need to know to hear. And remember, everything in this life is just a matter of perspective. Enjoy 2025. See you next time.